My name is Randall Cumba. We are here today interviewing Seth for the Gay Spirit Visions Oral History, Georgia State University Oral History and Archives Project. Today is Monday, October the 1st, 2018. Would you please tell us your full name?
My name is Seth Feinberg, or my radical fairy name is Cowboy. Some people call me Cowboy Seth.
Great. And where were you born?
I was born in Brooklyn, New York.
Okay. What year?
1965.
Great. And tell us about your family. Where were your father's parents and your mother's parents? Where they met?
I believe most of my family hails from New York, although my grandmother was from Hungary originally, and they migrated to the States. So all my family's been born in New York. I currently have one cousin living in St. Louis, another living down in Waxahachie, Texas, just south of Dallas, and another surviving the latest hurricanes in Wilmington, North Carolina.
Okay, all right. And do you know how your parents met?
I'm really not sure if I remember how exactly my parents met, so I don't remember.
Okay, all right. And a little more detail about your siblings?
I have an older brother living at home in New York with my family, and that's the only brother I have. And I have cousins, of course, that I said was living in Waxahachie, Texas, St. Louis, Missouri, and in Wilmington, North Carolina.
Okay. And Seth, do you have any partner? Have you had any significant partners that you'd like to, male or female, that you'd like to share with us today?
Well, I used to date my partner in Dallas, Texas, where I currently live. His name is Harold Pressridge. Currently I'm still living there, but kind of haven't been home that much since I travel for work, and there are two dogs at the house named Tommy and Jerry.
Great. Were there any experiences from your childhood that you believe had a profound effect on your values, your personality, your passions, or the person you are today?
I currently have Asperger's syndrome, which makes it very difficult for me to socialize with people. I barely got through college as a result of it, being at 10 colleges, and I still have problems socializing in very, very large groups of people, but I am trying to overcome that by attending these men's conferences.
Great, thank you. That's sweet. Anything else from your childhood? Any experiences that you think might have had an effect on who you are today?
Not really. I just know I've always liked guys. I was never married to a woman, and I just always enjoyed seeing guys with facial hair, and that was my fantasy in the past, although I have gone out with guys from all looks and all walks of life.
Okay. So how about can you share about your coming out experience?
I remember coming out at a gay bar in New York called the New Lining when I just went to the bar one day, and I got into the bar when I was like 17 years old. They never carded me or anything like that. And I just remember getting a kiss from a big heavyset door guy named Scotty. And that's how I started going to bars and stuff. I came out of a bar called the New Lining in Floral Park, New York in 1983, and then a second bar I started going to was called Freckle Bellies. And my first bar in New York City was Uncle Charlie's Downtown and the Ninth Circle, two bars that I went to in the Village.
Okay, I've heard of one of those. Great. So can you tell us about your any relatives or acquaintances, friends or mentors that helped shape your spiritual journey before you started attending men's conferences? Was there anybody in your life that kind of a spiritual mentor, if you want to call it that?
I just pretty much basically went to conferences on my own. My first conference that I ever went was the Radical Ferry Spring Conference in Short Mountain, Tennessee in 1995. And then right after that, I started traveling cross country, and I ended up going to the dedication ceremony for Zuni Mountain Sanctuary in 1996.
And how did you hear about these or find out about them?
I found out about them in Columbus, Ohio through some people, and that's how I ended up going there. And I found out about the sanctuary, the so-called Ferry Sanctuary, while I was down in Short Mountain in May.
Okay.
And then slowly but surely over the years, I've started hearing about more men's conferences that I wanted to try to go to. I took a break from Radical Ferries for a while and started attending again in the summer of 2006 at Wolf Creek Sanctuary and Brighton Bush.
And where are those located?
Those are in Oregon. Wolf
Okay.
Creek is in southern Oregon. Brighton Bush is about 2 hours southeast of Portland. And the ferries meet at the Brighton Bush Retreat Center twice a year, winter and summer.
Okay. And total, about how many men's conferences have you been to?
Lots of conferences. This was actually my first Gay Spirit Visions gathering, and I actually found out I was on the Facebook page since 2016.
Okay.
But I have been to a host of other men's conferences. California Men's Gatherings started about 2010. I went to 10 of those because they meet like 3 times a year. So I've gone to 10 conferences since 2010. I've also gone to 4 Brighton Bush conferences, 3 in the summer, 1 in the winter. Started that in 2006. I also attended another group called the Billies, which was a group of gay men living with HIV and in rural Northern California. That's how it originally started. So I have been to 6 conferences of them, and I have been to numerous Radical Ferry sanctuaries around the country.
Wow, that's a lot. That's a lot. And when was your first one again? Your first men's conference?
I would say the first Brighton Bush, the first ferry conference was around 1995 in Short Mountain, Tennessee. Then I went to Zuni Mountain in 1996, and then and Wolf Creek also around 1996. So that's a correction there that I actually went there in 96, and then I took a break from a while, and then attended Brighton Bush 10 years later in 2006.
Okay. All right. So, what was going on in your life at the time that kind of took you to the men's conferences, as opposed to, a lot of gay men's experiences tend to be around perhaps the bars or different things like that. So, what was sort of going on in your life that drew you to men's conferences?
Well, one thing, I don't really drink, so I was looking for other avenues where there wasn't as much drinking. I first started going to some of the sanctuaries, but there was still a lot of drinking and still a lot of pot smoking, and I really don't do either of those, so I kind of quit going to a lot of the sanctuary sponsored events, but I still go once in a while. But then I started to find the California Men's Gathering and the Billies. I found the Brighton Bush Retreat first in 2006, and then eventually from there I found the Billies in Northern California and went there. And then a few years after that I found California Men's Gathering, also known as CMG, and started going there.
Okay, and California Men's Gathering where is it located?
They meet 3 times a year at different places. The Northern Gathering meets in the late summer on Labor Day usually, and the LA chapter, the annual gathering, meets around Memorial Day weekend, and then San Diego also has a chapter, and they meet over Thanksgiving weekend or around that weekend.
Okay. All right. Good. Good. So.
And they also have other local events throughout the year also.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Who first told you about GSV? Or did you hear about it in some other way?
I'm not sure exactly when I actually heard it because I joined the Facebook page in 2016. So I wasn't really sure. I actually kind of thought it was around 2017 when I heard about it through Chase, and I met Chase up in Nashville when I was there for the Homewood Free Dance, which meets every Tuesday night in Nashville, and I started to go there. So I really don't remember how I got onto the GSV Facebook page since it was 2016 that I officially joined the page. I must have been browsing and then I asked to join the page.
Okay. All right.
I must have stumbled onto the website somehow. And it looked enticing and inviting and was wondering when could I go, and I haven't been able to because of work, and this date worked out that I could go this past fall for the first time.
Would you say that you were on a spiritual journey, your spiritual path before your first men's gathering, or is it something different for you?
A lot of it is something a little bit totally different, but it really is a break-off or extension of the Radical Fairies, in my opinion, because Gay Spirit Visions does a lot of the same thing done in other gatherings and other spiritual stuff. They do a lot of the same things like heart circles, which has been a very traditional Radical Fairy tradition for years and years. And the calling of the directions we do at some of the other gatherings as well. So,
would you consider yourself, or do you consider your participation in the men's gatherings as a spiritual exercise or practice, or is it something different for you?
It's a little different for me. I don't really follow all the spiritual stuff. As they say, but I have done a lot of the spiritual stuff. So I was very familiar with almost all the rituals that were done at Gay Spirit Visions this last fall.
So when did you attend your first GSV conference?
Just this past week. And thank you for allowing me to stay at your house before and after the conference.
Sure.
So I attended my first conference this fall, which was September 26th through September 30th.
Yes. And so, just a commentary, Seth is the first person that we have interviewed, and I think he's number 29 is what we thought. Number 29, the 29th person that we've interviewed, and Seth is the first one who has only been to one conference and just returned from his first conference. So we're real excited about getting your impressions from your very first.
And this is the 29th year of GSV.
So, yes, that's right. Very well.
And I have to say the mountain is a very beautiful place in its own right. I enjoyed taking lots of pictures and doing some hiking and even partaking of the labyrinth.
Okay, good. What was your most memorable experience?
That would be a hard one to think of because I've enjoyed lots of activities. I would have to say my favorite activities there was the contra dance, and I didn't even know there was a contra dance because I've been contra dancing since 1990. And I didn't know there was a contra dance when I registered for the gathering because I registered July 18th for the gathering. So I definitely enjoyed the contra dance. I would say the talent show was really, really well done, and Dev seems to really put his heart into it. And I noticed that they stand up a lot more to applaud people as opposed to other gatherings, that they really like their talent shows here. They stand up and they give a lot more standing ovations here, I noticed.
Okay.
And I just enjoyed hiking around the labyrinth. I had somebody that I hiked with down to the labyrinth, and I even did the massage workshop, the level 2 massage workshop with what's his name,
Mahan Kulpa.
Kopa. Very excellent teacher.
Yes. Yes.
Excellent teacher.
Good. Good. Were there any rituals at this conference that were different than your other men's conferences? Anything that was sort of new to you?
A lot of it was exactly the same, including the closing ritual where we go around in a circle. I just remember some past CMG gatherings where we all stood in a circle. There was an inner circle and an outer circle, and we looked at a person's eyes for like 5 seconds, and then when a little bell sounded, we moved on to the next person, and we did that all the way through pretty much. Here it was a little bit more singing, and I know some people were very emotional during the closing circle, and even people around me were crying, but I really couldn't hear it as much because we were all singing the Queer Friends song at the end.
Have you ever heard that song before?
I've heard the song
Okay.
before, but I don't remember ever singing it through the closing ceremony and laughing about it. I would have liked maybe to not sing it until afterwards and hear everybody's emotions from the gathering,
Okay.
you know.
All right.
But nevertheless, it was a very similar closing ceremony to other closing ceremonies that I have been to.
Okay. Any other rituals that you particularly enjoyed this past weekend?
Let me think about that for a minute. Let's see what else you did. I actually did the keynote speaker was really, really good. I thought I just did the first one with the movement. I kind of enjoyed that because it got me stirring around. I didn't really partake of the second one because I wanted to be outside and enjoy the outdoors. We had unusually good weather for Friday and Saturday, so it was nice to be outside and walk.
Okay. All right. Did this conference feel any different than other conferences you've been to? And if so, could you put your finger on why?
I actually liked this conference very, very much because I wasn't judged by anybody at this conference. There's been a couple of other conferences that I've been to where I felt I was judged, either because I left early or because I didn't attend a particular workshop. And this one I was not judged at also by other people. Maybe it was because it was California or something that they were judging more or something like that. But everybody here was very, very friendly, and I really enjoyed it. And I hope I will be able to take some of these friendships out of this conference and be able to spend time with them outside of a conference setting.
Okay. All right. Was this conference, let's see, how do I want to say this? Was it different in any way than you expected?
Certain things were different. I actually thought the first day there might have been some more activities, so I was kind of lost when I went there on Wednesday because I really didn't know anybody and didn't find anybody much after dinner, so I was kind of on my own to explore and find things to do, but it all worked out. So having one day to relax was kind of different from other conferences where I've gone, they started immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Well, of course I chose to go early, so.
Okay. All right. And you talked about the keynote speaker. You enjoyed him, right?
Pat.
Okay. People you met. Memorable people.
Well, one of the most memorable people I met was on our little journey today to the archives, Brian from Madison, Wisconsin. We were out on the lodge deck together, and we were talking for a while, and then we were getting ready to walk away, and then all of a sudden I asked him if I could hug him, and we hugged for a long time, and we hugged for a while, and for about 5 minutes out on the lodge deck. So that's how we got acquainted and got to know each other. So we became instant friends immediately.
That's nice.
And it's all because I asked him to give me a hug, if I could hug him. So, another guy I met, his name is Bello, or David was his name, and I was wondering how his odd way of finding his way to a conference, how he found his way to the conference, and got there through a weird set of means, but he found his way, and we became good friends also. And both these gentlemen are wonderful. I took home some gifts from these guys also. I also especially enjoyed the small circle facilitations also. I forgot to mention
The small groups,
Yeah,
yes.
the small
Okay.
groups. Much easier for me to follow than a large heart circle. I can't really stay through a large heart circle for more than about an hour because of
Yeah.
my Asperger's. So I really enjoyed the small groups, and I enjoyed Bumblebee facilitating.
So 2 questions I have from that. The hugging is, you've been to other gaming conferences. Is that pretty much the same? Was there more or less here? Was it different in any way?
I think I actually got more, I got asked to hug more, so I think that's good. I think maybe it's because it's, as I said before, it may be California, maybe it's a little bit more reserved, or maybe I'm a little bit more reserved to hug people, because I always wonder if their hugs are really, really genuine or not. You know, if it's just a short hug, I never think it's genuine enough. If they hug for like at least 10 seconds or 15 seconds more, I would think a hug is more genuine that way. And plus it gets the endorphins flowing in your brain more.
That's true. So would you say there were more genuine hugs here than you
I
had other
think
ones?
so.
Okay.
I think so. I think, but I think there is more genuineness here. However, I didn't find that when I first, because as I said, I posted that I was going to be in Atlanta on the weekend of my birthday back in 2017, and I was hoping to meet some of the GSV members, but no one responded.
Okay. The other thing you mentioned was the small group. So is that, have you experienced small groups in other men's conferences like that?
I think there was only one other place that had a small group setting, and that was over at Gala. And I didn't even attend all those. I attended like the first 2 or 3, and I think there were maybe 3 or 4. But I know I missed one session of that.
Okay.
But I think, from what I remember of Gala, I think the small groups were pretty much about the same. But I think I interacted with everybody very well at the small group thing, and I think it was the right number of people, like 8 people, so I think I was comfortable with everybody there. So there was nobody at this conference that I was uncomfortable with whatsoever,
great.
which was wonderful.
That's nice to hear. Nice to hear. Gift giving, that's pretty common, I think, in men's gatherings, or not?
Some of them, not so much the other gatherings. This one is a little bit more common. I've only been to maybe one other gathering where they gave you like a gift at the end of the gathering, and that was like a facilitator decision
Okay.
of our group. But I don't remember getting gifts at any of the other conferences or not. It's a unique idea, and I really like that, even though I did not really bring a gift with me, but they were nice enough to have extra gifts.
Okay.
So as small as they are, it was a good feeling to be able to participate. Although I would not have been offended if I didn't participate in the ritual.
Okay. All right.
I was mostly there at this conference to observe and to feel my way and to enjoy the conference.
Without revealing any confidences from your small group experience, anything that you could share from that was important or critical for you?
The curiosity aspect was a little bit overwhelming for me of what I really, really was curious, and that was the theme of the gathering. So that was kind of hard. I was more curious to see how this workshop was going to be, so that was mostly my curiosity.
Okay.
My intentions fitted the theme very, very well.
They did.
And But I don't really go to a gathering based on the theme. I go to the gathering based to enjoy myself and what activities are scheduled.
So, is there any way for you to sort of pinpoint if this conference has or might change you in any way? You know, that your life will be different somehow in a way that you can sort of put your finger on?
I think it's a little too early for that, but hopefully I'll be participating in more stuff. I'm going to be at the Chicago Potluck in November because I will be working in the area, so I think I can work it out to attend that. And I get to Atlanta often also, so hopefully I'll be able to interact more with the GSV brothers here and in Nashville as well, because I work in Cherokee also.
Oh, good,
so,
good.
So I'm only an hour from Nashville. So.
I'm not sure they've got a formal potluck
No,
in
not
Nashville.
yet.
So.
Not yet.
Yeah.
No, just Chicago and here I think used to have potlucks
Used
too.
to. They kind of stopped.
It's like Ned invited me, and I was not able to be up there on October 6th, but I will be at the next one on November 3rd.
Okay. All right. So how could GSV best support you in the future? Is there any way you can sort of put that into words, if that's possible at this point?
I like everybody on the GSV Facebook page to read comments with an open heart. I feel that there's a lot more people that probably don't belong on the Facebook site, but I don't know for sure. I haven't really tracked anybody, but now after attending this gathering, I can put some of the names to the faces. So,
okay, good. So, what advice would you give to someone who was going to attend their first GSV conference? What would you tell them?
Go with an open heart. Go with an intention that you want to be there. Go if you feel called, and expect hugs from everybody. Because most of them will give hugs. I was not turned down if I asked for a hug, and I didn't turn anybody that asked me for a hug.
That's sweet. That's nice. So usually we, at this point, we talk about some of ask the people that are being interviewed to share any experiences of GSV brothers that have passed. And since this is your first conference, you wouldn't know of any of those. So we're going to kind of wrap this up. But my question to you, is there anything else you would like to add that perhaps I haven't covered, or a question I haven't asked, or that you think is important to you about your experience this weekend?
I actually would have liked maybe like a little meetup on the open day, that just to have some activity to do, because after dinner on the first day I was actually lost on Wednesday before the gathering started. I had nobody really to talk with or to see anybody, but I walked around and eventually I talked to people as I walked around, and there were people setting up stuff in the treehouse also. So.
Well, Wednesday is usually reserved for sort of the people that are coming to do the setup and stuff like that. The official first day is Thursday evening, I think.
So I think if I did it over again, maybe I'll just come on Thursday next time. But it was nice to really meet people on the first day, and I might be open to coming back on Wednesday if it worked right, if I know people that are going the day before.
Yeah. Anything else you'd like to share?
I hope I will be able to come back and enjoy this wonderful group of people, and I wish more people would consider returning to GSV. I always wonder what some of their experiences, some other people's experiences are, and why they don't come back. And I understand, and we draw from I noticed that this group draws from a very wide range of boundaries, because other gatherings that I have gone to, it's pretty much a localized group of people. Like the California Men's Gathering is pretty much all California people, maybe a couple from Arizona and a couple from Nevada, but it's mostly a local bunch of people. Pretty much the Billies is kind of the same way also, rural Northern California, maybe an occasional person from New York. And the Radical Fairy Gathering at Breitenbush, pretty much localized in Oregon, Seattle, and Vancouver, BC, mostly drawing from there, and some fairies from Austin Go.
Okay.
So both, but this was, I was amazed at the dynamics of where everybody came from. A lot of people from Chicago,
Yeah.
Portland was represented, even California was represented, Texas is represented. We had 3 from Texas this year,
All right.
including,
Yeah.
including one guy who lives 3 blocks from me, and I didn't even know who he was. I thought that was pretty cool.
I know. That's going to be a friend, right?
Yeah, yeah. I told him to watch out for my dogs though, and he's not really a dog person.
I do know that we've had, I've been at conferences where we've had a gentleman from the Netherlands and a gentleman from Spain.
And we had one from New Zealand this
Oh,
time.
oh, okay. Oh, wow. Great, great. Anything else, Seth, that you want to add to this? You might talk, if you feel, about today's visit to the archives too, if there's anything there you might want to share.
It was nice. I was glad that I was able to go because I didn't even know that my friend Brian was going from Wisconsin. I didn't know he was going to be there because I actually thought he was on his way home today. So it was nice to get acquainted with the Atlanta people for lunch and a couple of the Chicago guys that came and joined us. And she is so nice and open, this librarian that came to visit today, that we came to visit today. She was so nice and so accepting
Okay.
of this group, and I was even surprised to find Radical Fairy Digest there. I was looking to see if I had a picture in there from a past gathering.
Okay.
So
Well, thank you very much.
thank you for giving me this opportunity to interview with you.
Yeah,
And
this is great. This is great.
Yeehaw!